first shot or his intro. We see him drive through a fog and shots of his eyes, showcasing his delusional ideology or foggy ideology and how he can't see through his fixed worldview. I know some are gonna call it overanalysis, but whatever. Anyways, next scene we see him applying for a job of a taxi driver. In this conversation, he reveals two things about him. First thing being that he served for the Marines in 1973, and other thing being that he said, "I can't sleep at night." Now, for his war trauma, it can be that he joined the Marines to satisfy his hero complex. Like it's shown later in the film that he has a hero complex. So this interpretation said that he joined the Marines to give him sense of glory. Of course, it's never told outright why he joined it or what's the reason, but this is my friend's interpretation and most logical one. So I am having this interpretation as well. Anyway, next information we get to know him that he has insomnia cause he said I can't sleep at nights. And he chose a job of taxi driver mainly cause he want to explore the city of New York and he want to do this cause of his insomnia. And what's the best way to explore a place? By traveling through it. That's why he chose this job. We get to see Travis' room, and now I know that you guys have probably heard a lot of times, oh, this represents this character's psychic, but in this case it actually does. Like the room is messy, non-stable, unrecognized, very unusual, dirty, literally mirroring the cycle of Travis. Plus, we also saw that Travis has a diary in which he writes its thoughts. It's important that Travis is alienated and doesn't have a single person who he can fully express his thoughts to. So his diary becomes his only way to deal with his alienation and his isolation. What's other thing that knows Travis fully besides the diary? Us, the audience. With the difference being that we literally live through his eye instead of him writing his thoughts down to us. We then see Travis driving night and seeing all the animals comes out at the night, showcasing how he is disgusted by the sickness of society. However, ironically, the society represents Travis himself. He is sick both literally and ideologically. Everything in the New York at nights, such as corn theaters, violence, and basically every immoral thing is representing Travis himself and becomes a manifestation of his psychic in a way. Basically, Night of New York represents Travis's true cycle, while the Day of New York represents how Travis sees himself. Now, in the next scene, we see him trying to hit on a girl while he was in a corn theater. Kind of pathetic, right? However, this hint towards his incelic nature of Travis, which is revealed with more with his dynamic with Betsy. At first, Travis literally sees her as sort of this angelic figure. However, what does he do in first date? Takes her to a corn theater and gets mad when she gets upset like any normal woman would. And then Travis starts throwing tantrum like a little bitch. This scene perfectly captures his incel nature and how truly delusional he actually is. Now remember that I said he has a hero complex. Yes, he does. But funny thing about is how film treats him. Basically, film treats him as basically unimportant being cosmically. He is just another taxi driver and not an important person. He isn't a hero and just a person who thinks does for himself or to satisfy his hero complex. Now, from all my yapping, what do we get to know about Travis? He is a first thing, he is a delusional guy who can't see world outside his own fixed worldview. Second, he has an insanely hero complex, so much so that he joined the Marines just to satisfy that. Third, he hates society and New York without realizing it's a manifestation of his own sickness and ideological biases. Fourth, he is a incel who has a sort of fantasy of women, and when they doesn't fit it he gets while acts like a bitch. And fifth, film treats him as an unimportant person cosmically. I am reminding you all of this because now we are getting to the most important part of the film, which is the ending. Now this ending is sort of complicated, and because of this many people think film romanticizes Travis when in reality it doesn't. So now let me explain you the ending. So what did Travis do in ending? He kills Pimps of Iris and saved her. But here's the thing, he didn't actually save her. What was Iris's reaction when he killed them in front of her? Fucking terrified. Absolutely terrified. However, society rewards him. Like even Iris's mother and father, basically parents who should be the most worried, sends him a letter. This is important because it criticizes. Remember, I said that New York Night represent Travis' actual psychic and day how Travis actually is. Here it comes into display. Basically, the whole sickness of society theme. Like they are just looking at the surface value of this action because it's easy to understand without realizing how much damage it's done to a young girl. Like Iris can be traumatized for her entire life thinking that because of her a guy killed many men in many lives. Now it's not shown that she she is traumatized or not, but the fact Travis didn't even think about it, nor did anyone who is saying Travis is a hero, just tells us about. And you also need to understand the context. Taxi Driver was releasing at a time where vigilante stories were taking off and films like Dirty Harry were becoming famous and famous. So in a sense, Taxi Driver becomes criticism of those films. Now the ending can be interrupted in two ways, actual scene or dream scene. I will talk about both of them separately now. If the ending is real, then my point of society sickness that I mentioned earlier still stands, but it gets further enhanced. Like Trav's got fame, like he should realistically be punished and in jail, but instead he got fame, glory. So his narrative that violence is my destiny and I must do this shit gets fulfilled, which is basically the entire sociology of Taxi Driver. How these motherfuckers like Travis get praised when in reality they should get in jail, and this gets further implemented by Betsy forgiving him. Like if the ending is real and Betsy gets with him, that shows that how narratives can easily be changed and how perception of ours, society's perception, can easily be blinded or biased and not see an actual truth. However, that is just real. Now let's talk about if it's a dream. If it's a dream, it still doesn't change that much. However, what it changes that, like we know that Travis still gets the fame, recognition, letter and the glory. So in his mind, if it's a dream, it further signified that violence is my destiny choice, signifies his hero complex and his incel nature too, so much so he thinks he deserves forgiveness for Betsy. Basically, how we praising motherfuckers like these and not giving them the place they deserve signify their nature, their harmful nature more. That's the entire point of Taxi Driver. People think Martin Scorsese is glorifying Travis. He is fucking not. He just does not glorifying him. He is glorifying, I mean, not glorifying, he is showing how society glorifies people like Travis, and he is sort of making a joke of it. Like, best way to look at Taxi Driver is sort of a dark comedy of how society again praise losers like Travis because they fit their narrative. And that's the point of Taxi Driver. Thanks for watching the video.